Dream a little dream of me. Hello, my name is Spencer Malcolm, and I just finished watching Dr. Sleep. Written and directed by Mike Flanagan and starring Ewan McGregor as Dan Torrance, a hospice orderly with a dark past involving parental abuse, alcoholism, and a hotel filled with ghosts that wish to feed off of a psychic gift that Danny possesses known as the Shining. Years after escaping the haunted Overlook Hotel that claimed the life of his father Jack and almost did the same for himself and his mother Wendy, Dan comes across a young girl with the same gift named Abra Stone, played by Kylie Curran, who is being hunted by a cult of essentially psychic vampires led by a woman known as Rose the Hat, played by Rebecca Ferguson, and the two of them have to team up to take the cult down. This is a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's 1980 classic The Shining, which was loosely adapted from Stephen King's novel of the same name, that King was famously not a big fan of, even though many people, myself included, consider it one of the greatest horror films ever made. King disliked the movie so much that he not only made it explicit that the book version of Dr. Sleep was following the events of the book, not the movie. He also made a TV miniseries in which the sole purpose was to be more faithful to the book. Oh, and if you're curious about checking it out, don't. It is terrible. So when it came time to give Dr. Sleep its own adaptation, Flanagan, a self-professed fan of both versions of The Shining, had to find a way to make a film that honored the book while still being a sequel to the film. Add to that the fact that the movie is one of the most beloved horror films of all time, with legions of fans you have to satisfy, on top of all the difficulties that come with just making a movie, and you've got quite a challenge on your hands. But man, does it pay off. I have actually been looking forward to this movie ever since I was a kid and first found out what The Shining was about. Even before the book, Dr. Sleep was ever officially announced, I always thought, how it would be a pretty good story is if they did like a sequel to The Shining that followed the little psychic kid, but as an adult. And it somehow managed to pull off the impossible and be pretty much everything I hoped it would be. Let's start with the performances. Ewan McGregor is great as the grown-up Danny. He does such a great job at conveying all the pain and regret of this character, but also the kindness and desire to better his world, even though he's hesitant to confront his past demons and in the necessary steps to protect Abra. Kylie Curran is also really good as the young Miss Stone. She does a great job at playing her as this smart, cunning girl that has a real strong sense of justice. But the real standout is Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat. Her character basically, and I'm grossly oversimplifying, boils down to vampire hippie, which is a pretty hard role to make intimidating, but Ferguson pulls it off with flying colors. Rose the Hat is an incredibly intimidating character, but also a surprisingly pretty fun one that, if it weren't for the fact that she's a soul-sucking child murderer, or you could easily see yourself wanting to just hang out with and listen to her tell tales of all the crazy adventures she's no doubt been on. She's also one of the rare horror movie monsters that you understand the motivations of. They're not particularly complex motivations, but compelling ones nonetheless. The production design is absolutely stunning. Not only are there some beautiful visuals, there's also quite a few scenes that painstakingly recreate locations and sometimes even in full moments from the original Shining, that are so well done that I had to do a double take to make sure they weren't just reusing footage from the movie. And in Ready Player One, it's actually impressive because those are physical sets, not just CG recreations. Anyway, Mike Flanagan's direction is once again outstanding. And after movies like Hush, Oculus, Gerald's Game, The Haunting of Hill House TV show, and now Dr. Sleep, he's really proven to be one of the best directors working today. He also manages to successfully pay homage to the way Kubrick directed The Shining without ever coming off as like he's just trying to copy him. For one, Flanagan imbues his movie with a sense of warmth and humanity, whereas Kubrick's film was very cold and impersonal. Now that's not a criticism of Kubrick, that's just how he made his films, but while there are definitely some very dark moments, and it being a horror movie in almost ever-present sense of tension and dread, this is a much less nihilistic film than The Shining. While that film was about a man succumbing to his demons, this movie is about a man learning to confront his demons. And that's kind of where this movie gets really interesting. Because I believe this movie manages to pull a Dark Crystal Age of Resistance and actually make the original film better. I don't want to get into that too deeply for fear of spoilers, but the journey that Dan goes through in this movie and how it parallels to Jack's journey in the first film, it kind of just makes the story feel more complete, I guess. I don't know. Oh, maybe it will make more sense when you actually see the movie. Which, if you can't tell, I highly recommend you do. Though I should let you know that even though this is a horror movie, this isn't really a scary, shake you to your core kind of horror movie. It does have some really disturbing stuff in it, but this is one of those horror movies that is more focused on telling a good story, as opposed to trying to scare you. We've surprisingly have a lot of those this year. I'm just noticing. Anyway, Dr. Sleep is honestly in competition with the Lego Movie 2 and The Lighthouse for my favorite movie of the year. Featuring incredible performances, top-notch direction, and really impressive production design, and a story that somehow manages to do the impossible and honor both versions of the original classic, and maybe even improved it slightly. I'm gonna give Dr. Sleep an A+. If you like this video, you can ensure it by doing the usual like, share, subscribe, bell icon routine. I'm Spencer Malcolm, and
I can't think of a thing to say. Fuck it.